So broadly, yes, I did my bachelor's in architecture, and then when I was doing my architecture, I also told myself that I don't want to remain into a silo of architecture. I think till the time I will work, I will try to find what I want to do. So they need to also broadly understand, which is a lot of learning experience, that these digital galleries cannot have natural light. Like for example, architecture is all about natural light, but digital galleries we don't need natural light. So how to have a space which it's a space for people to cry, but at the same time that space need to have a shoulder, that space need to have a hope. But we will understand that they have gone because there was a natural occurrence. Can we shape that natural occurrence? Earthquake is not in our hands, right? But once the building is falling, we can make a building which doesn't fall, right? That is in our hands. If you go wrong in research and analysis, the whole project goes across. Smritivan has got the best of the best awards. It has got the red dot. It has got if.
A warm good afternoon from the Architect's Diary, and I extend a gracious welcome to TADPod. TADPod is an initiative by the Architect's Diary where we illuminate the remarkable journeys of leaders with architectural brilliance. Through TADPod, we focus on presenting curated insights from extraordinary individuals, shedding light on their creative process, exemplary philosophies, and exquisite contributions to the built environment. By featuring discussions with visionary architects, designers, and urban planners, TADPod seeks to broaden perspectives and shatter stereotypes. TADPod is more than just an interview series. It's a platform for thought leadership, inspiration, and action, driving forward the discourse on architecture and design in pursuit of a better and more vibrant future for all. Today, we are honored to have with us Siddharth Sir, the Principal Architect of Design Factory India. So, a short introduction about Sir. Siddharth Sir is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur, an architect and an industrial designer from education, and is the managing director and founding partner of Design Factory India. He is a multi specialist designer with a focus on interactive public space, brand, and digital. With over a decade of experience, he is a dedicated advocate of strategic thinking and the thoughtful use of technology. As a design practitioner, he has been involved in a lot of multidisciplinary design projects, ranging from designing the Museum of Socialism, Agra City Museum, Info Center, and Smritivan Earthquake Museum. It's an honor to have you with us today, sir, and thank you so much for spending our time from this busy schedule of yours. And we look forward to seeing what you have to look at your projects. So I hand over the stage to you.
Thank you, Simran. Thanks again.
To begin, I would really like to understand, like, from your initially embracing this field of architecture to developing this niche expertise in designing these experiential spaces must have been really incredibly rich with experiences. So could you share some of the key moments which have shaped this journey of yours?
So broadly, yes, I did my bachelor's in architecture, and then when I was doing my architecture, I also told myself that I don't want to remain into a silo of architecture. I think broadly in India or broadly abroad, the way the studies goes in design, we have made these silos that I'm an architect, I do buildings. If you see in architecture also, the silos are not there. Somebody goes into hospital design, somebody goes into houses, then somebody goes into housing, somebody goes into interiors, and then also there are no silos. A person design a hospital in a different way, a person design a hospital in a different way. So I think those siloness is something which I was not kind of appreciating in architecture journey in that sense. So at the same time, when I realized that the ideal architecture, when the term architecture coined, it was the Bohas, which was 100 years ago. So Bohas as a school had architecture, arts, with films and graphics and pro design all together at one. So that is what design is all about. So broadly, that is what told me to do my masters in design. So that is how I did my masters in design. And then when I did my masters again, I realized that I want to do everything. I want to do a bit of space design, I want to do a bit of graphics, I want to do a bit of film. And that is how, kind of we were doing a lot of projects, and suddenly, one or two exhibitions came in. And once these exhibition came in, I realized that this is something which I love, because exhibition has a lot of storytelling. Exhibition have films, or museums or heritage have a fair bit of pro design, a fair bit of architecture and space. So it's kind of it's like I say that I mean, if I close my eyes now, from childhood onwards, I knew I want to do this, but it's just the way the formal education is planned. You're never able to discover that. If you see old people, they are. I mean, if you see, the an architect 200 years ago, he must have been a best poet and a best chemist and an architect. So this is how the life around. So that is eventually, I was settled in life in my mind, saying that I love to do this part, and still I am kind of, I think, till the time I will work, I will try to, find what I want to do.
Right, right. Rightly said. It's the initial education. I think it really has these gaps still that need to be filled. That you're guided that okay, you are done with architecture, so this is what you're supposed to work on. But now we have so many different aspects on architecture altogether. I mean, this experience design and space design is, I think, one of a very expert niche. I think, and very few people are tapping onto this sector, and it's really great to have this with talk with someone who is doing this work, which is really unique, I think, in India. So that's a great journey. So, sir, and I think I believe that you have worked with a lot of architects in all these years of all these projects. So, how do you balance the multiple creative visions while maintaining this cohesiveness in the design? And like, if I were to ask you, who has been that architect who was really good to work with, or you're one of the best project you worked on?
I will not say best, because otherwise the other people will say, why we were not the best. But I will say every architect is different in that sense. So I think
Right.
a lot of times we respect what they are doing, and we kind of try to appreciate their building.
Hmm.
A lot of times, because this is a new field for everybody. Architects in India have not done museums, mark my
Right.
words. And they have done museum, but they have not done museums of today's time. So they need to also broadly understand, which is a lot of learning experience, that these digital galleries cannot have natural light. Like, for example, architecture is all about natural light, but digital galleries, we don't need natural light. So it's a learning process where we need to probably sit across the table and say that, okay, we also understand that the natural light need to come, but the natural light need to come in breakpoints. So there's a digital gallery and there's a breakpoint, there's a digital gallery and there's a breakpoint, and then there's a whole kind of systems of what should be the floor finishes. Like, for example, the floor finishes to us need to be dark, because the person need to see an artifact, not the floor. So it's like a lot of design discussion which we need to do in with every architect. But a lot of time they are fruitful, where the architect also understand. A lot of time we kind of dictate it, because the architect said that you decide and you design, because we also come from an architecture field. A lot of time the architects kind of change what we say. So there's no decisive answer to it. It is a journey which is happening right now.
Right, it's exchange of ideas and just coming to a conclusion where we are all on the same page. And
Right,
that's
because
what
it's a learning experience for them also. It's like a new typology.
right.
You know,
Yes.
it's like for the first time the hospitals are happening, which are more digitalized in nature. All
Hmm.
the good architects kind of understand this process. And then we do it with them. So it's a very, very fruitful and amazing exercise. But at the same time, a lot of architects kind of says that, why don't you decide and give it to us? So it's a
Right.
type. Yeah.
Right. And so, like looking at all of these projects that you even showed today in the presentation, which would be that one project which you think our viewers should not miss visiting at all? Like one of the best projects or your favorite projects that you worked on till date?
To me, I think. Personally, I'm not I mean I'm personally I I love all the projects, but I think, to me, there's a project which we did in Anjar on the kids. It's a kids memorial, which is dedicated to the kids who died in the earthquake. So to me, it is very touching, and it has a soul to the museum itself. It's like we never designed that museum for making people to cry, but it's a memorial. When the kids' parents come, they did cry. So how
Right.
to how to have a space which, it's a space for people to cry, but at the same
Hmm.
time that space need to have a shoulder, that space need to have a hope. So I think mixing that space of submission and a space of hope together, and then seeing that what the museum is doing right now, it's like it gives strength to us as a designer. It's like it tells us that why we are into this field. So
Right.
Anjar Museum, which is known as Bal Smarak,
Okay.
which is in
Right.
Gujarat.
Right. Definitely. I think trying to conceive all these emotions into one project must be really challenging at times. I mean, your work, it delves with so much of emotional and sensory dimensions of architecture that resonate with people on such deeper levels. So, what are some of the key elements that you consider when crafting these immersive and experiential environments for museums or any of the project mappings?
So what we say is that there's a pre-museum experience which is with us, that we design the museum. But I think it is the museum is designed well, or an exhibition or a design project is designed well when you think of the post experience. Just like what a user or anybody who will be in the museum after 1 year or 2 years will feel. So I think if you have that filter, it makes that museum process drive very well. So it's like what, for example, in Jar Museum, what a parent will feel in this space once he come, after the museum is inaugurated. They will love to see the photo of their kid, but at the same time, they will, kind of they will kind of have some unlearning and after learning also. So it's like it is. I'm talking about that. So, for example, I'm doing a museum on spirituality. So why that museum of spirituality is needed for people? What is the post life of that museum? So what is the post life of a Smritivan museum on earthquake? So the earthquake museum is about earthquake which happened, right? But we got to know that the earthquake happened because it is a natural occurrence, right? So what, of course, we will come and we will kind of remember the people who have gone, but we will understand that they have gone because there was a natural occurrence. Can we shape that natural occurrence? Earthquake is not in our hands, right? But once the building is falling, we can make a building which doesn't fall, right? That is in our hands. So, for example, right now, yesterday also, if you see, there's a flood in Bihar, and there are people dying every year. There is something happening in Chennai or something happening in Mumbai, where the Mumbai or Chennai or whatever, they are underwater and people die. So can we do something about that? So I'm saying that is the post museum experience. So museum is a place where actually you can change the world. So what is that change it is happening? It's a great responsibility. Every museum is an institution, right? So what it is does to the country or to the people around. If the more you think on that, I think the better the museum is.
Right, right, right. You rightly said. I mean, it's about those experiences that people need to feel, and then the factor of inspiration comes in picture. That okay, this has been done, but then we need to get above this, and this is the. I think museums would be the best place, as you said, to get inspired and try to move out of that whole situation that has been happened already. So today, sir, in this era of technology where it is rapidly evolving, so these advanced experiential spaces are, I think, quite necessary. Technology integration is necessary because of the way this current generation is, where we need their attention to be there with these immersive spaces that we create. So, what are some of your experiences of working with the technology for crafting these spaces?
So good and bad both. I will say the bad first, and then I will say the good. The bad is, I think, a lot of time it is a taboo also.
Mm,
It's like we need to use the technology because the technology is there, right?
mm.
It's like overuse of technology. I don't think that should be done. I think the
Right.
story is the most important thing. And it's like, everybody used to see films in theater. Now they are seeing in Netflix. It is a technology intervention. It is not that I am not, it doesn't do anything to the film. So the film is the most important thing, right? So
Right.
I'm saying that the story is the most important thing. And then if there's a technology which is there, why not? So, for
Right.
example, right now what we are doing, we are talking in a virtual world, right?
Yes.
Which never used to be there 5 years or 10 years ago. So I think the talk is important, and of course, technology is a facilitator. So I think
Right.
not overuse of technologies. If I now say that all the talks need to happen virtually, it is not the right thing. You
Right.
know,
Right.
but a lot of talk can happen virtually because that platform is alive,
Mm.
right? But at the same time, it is everybody should work from home and technology. No, designers should work across the table physically.
Right.
So we should not overuse it. But talking about the positives of technology, of course, the way now you can tell a story through a technology intervention or through an interaction is amazing. It's kind of it's kind of a next level, because you have those technologies, so you can make people interact, you can make people learn.
Right. I remember seeing those kinetic sculptures in, I think, the JPN Museum of Socialism. So that was really fascinating. I mean, I haven't been there, but I have seen it in the project and the videos that we have. But it was really amazing. And I think these kind of installations also grab the attention of the younger ones also. And then, the generation that needs to be aware about these things is getting the knowledge out of it.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. And so, with these diverse and extensive experiences you have, I think most of the projects you have worked, it involves working with the government as well. So, like, what are some of the challenges, maybe, or learning experiences that you have encountered while working with the government?
So I think the positive point is that I mean the kind of high profile good projects which government has, it is I think it is unhuman to have it with the private people. It's like it is not possible. For example, a Smritivan Memorial and Museum can happen at the government level. A museum and a memorial on kids can happen at a government level. So that's the strength of the government. That if government want, it's like the
Mhm.
impact. If a private person want and a government wants, then the impact level can be totally different, because the kind of sources they have, the kind of infrastructure they have, the kind of leverage they have. So that is the positive point. If I want to change Taj Mahal, I cannot do it with a private person, right? If I want to change Varanasi, I cannot do it with a private person. So government anyway have those funds, and those funds are our money in that sense. So we really need to structure things. Like for example, I was talking in Germany, like in India, we have a defense budget and a culture budget and a education budget, all the ministries. In Germany, they have the highest budget for culture. Like for example, in India, out of 100%, the culture budget will be 5-6% or 10%. The defense budget will be 20%. The education budget will be 15%. The healthcare budget will be 20%. In Germany, the culture budget is 22%. So they believe that if culture is good, everything is good. Just like that. So it's like valuing your culture, and then at the end, everything revolves around that. So I think that is where the government is very, very important. Of course, there are a lot of challenges, because it's not a private sector, it's a government. So there is a problems of the way the government structure is, and the way our Indian system works, where to work with the government people, there's a hierarchy there in terms of who will take what call, and then there are, of course, confusions around that point. And it's a new field. You need to also say that, because museums are not done the way they have been done in the last 10 years. So there are a lot many challenges, but the point is to solve those challenges.
Right. Must have been a really learning experience. Every project that you take on must be really informative in a very different kind of way.
Totally.
Right.
I can write a book on that. That
So,
much.
when we talk about culture and all these aspects, I think when you're working on these culturally sensitive spaces, they demand a lot of research, I believe, to ensure that these successful outcomes are achieved. So, could you share your approach to research and analysis that you undertake, and how do you translate it into your design language?
Yeah, so I think to me, it is a very intelligent question, because to me, the whole project lies on this. So in execution, you can have 10 more painters, right? You can have 10 more people who know how to integrate a projector. You can have 10 more people who know how to do a flooring, right? But the research and analysis is the most important part. You can have 10 more people who can make drawings, for example. But if you go wrong in research and analysis, the whole project goes across in a very, very bad way. It's like if you have not understood what the crux of that story is, what is the storyline and what is the research, and you have not analyzed it, then it's like then you do whatever, you know then the end result will be a bad result. So that is, and I tell this to my client, that this is the most important thing, because thinking of what a storyline is and analyzing a research takes most of the time. So, for example, we are doing a museum of spirituality. A lot of time is going to, I mean, everybody knows about spirituality. Then it will not have that impact. Everybody will think that it's a museum on Hinduism or Krishna, which is it is not. So it is that is why that research is important. Like, for example, talking about museum of spirituality, if I ask you or anybody else, everybody knows that who Krishna and who Radha is. I will post
Right.
you two different questions, you will not know the answer. Nobody knows that answer because nobody have thought beyond that. So it is, if you are making a spirituality museum, you don't want to make another museum which has no impact. Of course, the impact is people talking about Radha Krishna, but do people really know who Krishna is, who Radha is?
Hmm.
To a museum designer who, anyway, I'm not making a Hindu museum, I'm not making a museum on Krishna or Radha, I'm making a museum on spirituality. So you are understanding my point. That
Yes.
level of research is important, and that will take time. you know so that is what is about. If you want to just show two statues of Radha Krishna, that can be easily done. If you want impact, and that impact should not be people are getting into singing about Radha Krishna. That's not the impact. The impact is people need to be spiritually strong.
Right.
It's
Right.
like you will see a lot of people who are singing Radha Krishna are not mentally strong because they are doing just as a custom. They
Hmm.
are
Right.
following the ritual. They are not doing the actual spirituality. So just an example of a spirituality museum.
Yes.
Same. It's like if I make a museum on earthquake, people will still come see their old pictures and see they will cry. But what is an impact? If you want to create a museum which will make sure the next time the flood happens in Bihar, the 100 people are saved. So for
Hmm.
that, your analysis and research is important. That what this museum is all about. The museum is not
Right.
about the earthquake. The museum is about natural occurrence. The museum is about how you to face the future.
Right. Research plays a really important role, I think, and may it be any field or any kind of project that we are working on, the base, if we have the base that is really strong, then we will find all the answers also, I think, as the challenges are coming. With that also we'll be able to deal with it.
Right.
So, sir, to specifically mention, so with the Smritivan Earthquake Museum's inclusion on UNESCO's list, how does it feel to represent India on such a global platform? What does this recognition mean to you in terms of showcasing India's architectural strength and cultural identity?
It's overwhelming. It's like yeah, it's very overwhelming. I mean, Smritivan has got the best of the best awards. It has got the red dot. It has got if. So it's like, but I always say that once you don't get it, you have high value it. Once you get it, it is a normal thing. So it's like that
Right.
also. So it's like we should we should always work on the process and getting a good. And this will all come. That's not a problem. So
Mm-hmm.
it's overwhelming, but at the same time, I mean, that overwhelmingness for 7 days, but now it is a normal thing.
Right, right, right.
I
I
think the
think this
museum.
has, yeah. Yes, sir, continue.
Yeah, I think the museum is more important. I mean, of course, the awards are kind of which are very,
Hmm.
very important. It is they kind of makes you happy,
Right.
uh, but at the same time, once you get that award, it's normal. So it's
Right, right.
always a project then.
Right. I think it has the project has definitely kept India on a really global scale, and everyone is recognizing, okay, India has this capacity and they are doing it at this great level. So that has been a great achievement nationwide for every one of us. It's a proud moment. And sir,
Right.
I would really like to know who has been your inspiration. So in this niche industry that you're working on, who was that initial source of inspiration for you to continue on this path?
A lot of people. It's not just one. I
Right.
think what I say is that exposure defines your next step.
Mhm.
So it's like a lot of people. It is not one or two, but of course, it's
Right.
like, for example, when I was understanding what design is, then
Mm.
I heard about Eames. When I read about Charles and Ray Eames, I understood. Oh, what I was thinking was something which it's like once you are an architect, you are understanding. I just don't
Right.
want to do building. I don't do graphics and films. And then when you read about Charles and Ray Eames, they have done 10 buildings, so they have done 30 films and 50 graphics. So that is when
Right.
you realize that they did it broadly 50, 60 years ago. So it's like inspiration comes in parts, and then
Hmm.
you way ahead, and then uh, uh, I mean, then you do good design, and then you realize it's not getting executed, and then you
Right.
have people uh, in creative backgrounds like Amir Khan, who
Yeah.
design his own film, execute it. Like he take topics like PK, or he take topics like
Yeah.
Zami Pe, and kind of explode it for the impact. You have
Right.
Anubhav Sinha, who make films like Article 15, like
Yes.
Mulk. So there, I mean, we have colleagues who kind of inspired me. I have mentors
Hmm.
who have architects who have inspired me. So it's like it's not a list. I mean, we get inspiration every day. That's what the life is all about. So
Right. With all the experiences, every project, as we spoke about it, every project maybe, or every person that we meet, every architect we work with is definitely helping us shape our next approach in a
a lot
very
of clients,
different kind of way.
a lot of clients also.
Right. Yes.
A lot of clients also. There's sometimes you get to know what is a different world altogether.
Right. Rightly said. So, sir, how do you like, apart from these completions and awards, how do you find this sense of fulfillment and purpose in your work as an architect with with your expertise in this?
So, I mean, I get your question right, that how I fulfill the kind of
Yes.
thoughts which I
So,
have.
how do you find a sense of fulfillment and purpose in your work as an architect beyond the completion of projects or the awards that we receive?
I think, and I've said this earlier also with my team, not on that platform, but this platform. But I think the 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 project completion is the result. The
Hmm.
fun is in the process, right?
Right.
And the process is with humans. You
Right.
know, I see that the whole life is about being with like-minded people.
Hmm.
That is more important. It's all about your team, and then you need to design with them, and you need to grow with them.
Right.
So I think it's like, it's like once we will be 70 or 60, we will remember the process and people. So I think that is more important. So I think it is a journey of
Hmm.
designing good things with people whom are like-minded. So that's the journey, and then of
Right.
course the end result is the product itself.
Rightly said, sir. Yes. So, with this impeccable career that you've had, where do you envision yourself in like the upcoming years? What is your next goal, maybe, or the dream project that you're looking for?
So, as I told you, that I am kind of going towards the pre-museum life and a post-museum life.
Hmm.
So I had many experience in pre-museum life, where I was
Right.
designing the museum, and the museum were taking a shape. I think I need to more go deep into the post-museum life. Once the museum are there,
Hmm.
how these museums are becoming those institutions and centers for the society to grow. Like, for example, we are doing a museum on archaeology. What that museum will be for the next 5 years? What Smritivan will do. That is
Hmm.
what I think will define what I will do now, which I am really interested in. It's like, through that museum, can I get similar like-minded people, or can I do something which can save, as I told you, 100 people life in the next flood? If there's an archaeology museum talks about that what was the past, and how you
Right.
define your future learning the past.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
it becomes a center for the next 5, 10 years, 15 years? We are trying to reflect on what we have learned from the past for the future products, either they are sustainable or the practices itself. So that is what I think will be my
Right.
task.
Right. It's the impact that our buildings and our designs are going to have on the spaces that are going to have on people. That is going to, at the end, I think, matter and go with the people as well. They're going to take this ahead with them and pass it on to their next generations. And that's, I think, the fulfillment of our work.
Totally.
Right. So, sir, as we get to the end of our interview, I would like to know, like, for all those listeners who want to explore a career in designing experiential spaces, what would be your piece of advice?
Just follow your heart. There are no rules in life and design. It's like, if you try to solve it by x plus y is equal to z, you will never be able to solve it. It's like process is to free you, not to freeze you. So not be so much in the process that you kind of freeze yourself. It is to help you, not to restrict you. So it's like, just follow your heart, follow your intuitions. Those are the most important thing. And I mean, it's I mean, design is a very, very undefined field. Sometimes when you follow all the process, the building looks bad. Sometimes when you don't follow any process, the building looks very nice. So it's like,
Right.
I think just be with it, just enjoy being a designer, just do hard work. At the same time, in this career, just just be true to yourself, that what is the impact which you are creating, and then start doing things. So I think that will define yourself. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, it has been wonderful talking to you. It was really honoring to be with you and talk to you about all of these, your experiences, your journey in architecture, and this experiential design. So, thank you so much for all this. And I am really sure this is going to be very helpful for all the young architects and designers out there who want to really are thinking, ki, should I go for this industry or not? They're going to find their source of inspiration today.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you
Simran,
so much. Yes.
for having me. Thank you.
Yes. Looking forward to future collaborations, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.